challenges specifically for communities of color. According to a survey from Bankrate, non-white Americans are more concerned about meeting their monthly expenses than their white counterparts. The burden is highest on Hispanic Americans in particular, according to the report. And this is due to a lot of different factors. Wage growth is a key example that has been marginal over the last decade, especially for low-wage workers. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Black and Hispanic women saw the lowest rate of wage growth. Home ownership is a similar story. According to the Treasury Department, the white and Black home ownership gap is nearly identical to that of the 1970s. This comes amid the heightened cost of real estate. While interest rates are stabilizing, it's still challenging for both prospective homeowners and renters alike. In New York, Amity Hirschfeld reporting.
From President Biden, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development underlined those concerns. Tonight, NewsEdge reporter Rob DiRienzo takes a closer look at the problem, but also possible solutions. Well, the people I'm hearing from say that they've lived where they've lived for a long time, but now these out-of-state developers are coming in and scooping up their property, leaving them with no place to go.
I'm still out here trying to find out what can we do.
Barbara Daniel has lived in Athens all of her 60 years. She says a development boom fueled by out-of-state investors is pushing elderly and disabled residents out of their homes.
They buy a property. That's all they do. They buy the property. And they come in and rent them out to people that can afford it.
As the University of Georgia expands its student population and Athens' real estate market has ballooned, few legal protections exist for people like Barbara. She was forced out of her home after living there for 2 decades. She's since been staying with a friend. The alternative?
On the street. There's a lot of elder people that's on the street. There's a lot of young people, families on the street because they have nowhere to go.
Last week, President Biden's Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Marcia Fudge, heard from people in Gwinnett County about the housing crisis, pledging more resources like tax credits and grants for the construction of affordable housing. Earlier this year, Georgia state lawmakers introduced a bill aimed at large institutional investors who, just like Barbara describes, snatch up single-family homes, jack up the price, and rent them out. That bill, HB 490, died at the end of the legislative session before it could be brought to a vote. Barbara says time is of the essence.
It's not only about me. It's about a lot of people. It's about elder people. It's about the vet people. It's about the homeless people. It's about all of us out here.
In Athens, Rob DiRienzo, Fox 5 News.
Hasn't been any affordable housing since the Olympics.
Building costs $265 a square foot, heated space. Just imagine what it's going to cost turnkey, and that's expensive as hell. It was $35 a square foot when I started. Heated space, framing. Oh my Lord. It's gotten ridiculous. $100 a yard of concrete.
In D.C., the group shared this memo with Newsnet saying it's anticipating the stricter rule, writing that automakers are committed to a shift toward electric vehicles and, quotes, the question isn't whether it can be done, it's how fast it can be done. The group also writing that regulatory mandates alone won't determine success for an EV transition, addressing the expected proposed rule, quotes, the answer in rule feasibility is it depends. Success will be tied to both supportive public policies and favorable market conditions outside the vehicle, notably charging infrastructure, affordability, supply chains, critical mining availability, and utility capacity. So we're expecting the rule to be officially proposed on Wednesday. We'll continue tracking developments and bring you updates from Washington when we have them. In Washington, I'm David Aid for Newsnet.
Thank you, David. And the EPA proposed Tuesday limiting the use of the chemical ethylene oxide after finding a higher than expected cancer risk at facilities that use it to sterilize billions of medical devices each year. The agency says the proposal will reduce emissions by roughly 80% by targeting 86 sterilization facilities across the U.S. The tightened safeguards are driven by a better understanding of the chemical's severe threat It is classified as a pesticide, and while brief exposure isn't considered a danger, the EPA says ingesting it long-term elevates the risk of breast cancer and lymphoma. As it stands, many facilities have already reduced emissions. For Vice President Mike Pence with top congressional leaders. Lawmakers have been asking for months that the Justice Department provide access to the documents, or at least an assessment of what was in them, so that Congress could gauge the potential national security harm. The process recently got underway, according to sources, with the Gang of Eight able to look over the papers. The group includes the chairs and ranking members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees, as well as the Speaker and Minority Leader of the House and top party leaders in the Senate. Separate special counsels are currently investigating the handling of documents handed over by Biden and Trump. And the DOJ says they wanted to be as cooperative as they could be. Looking abroad now. President Biden is overseas on a diplomatic and deeply personal mission this week, visiting Ireland for days of meetings with officials, plus his ancestors. International correspondent Ryan Thompson has a look at what's to come.
It's been said that President Biden rarely goes a week without a subtle reminder of his Irish roots.
As a great-great-grandson of the Blewitts.
Like so many White House occupants before him, Biden has made his heritage a focal point. Now, as he embarks on a 4-day visit to the island of Ireland, the streets are abuzz with familial pride. Some locals, who are even related by blood, say they're preparing to welcome him home.
Great to see that Joe is the president of American.
Sources and spies in Latin Mass parishes and other Catholic parishes around the country?
The Justice Department does not do that. It does not do investigations based on religion.
Today, Hawley sent a letter to Garland saying the AG statements were false, as recent investigative findings by the House Judiciary Committee show. At the end of the letter, Hawley demands answers for 3 questions, basically seeking information on the DOJ's exact involvement in the alleged spying on American Catholics. This comes just a day after House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan subpoenaed FBI Director Christopher Wray. Jordan is seeking information in connection with an FBI memo, now withdrawn, that discussed the ways to infiltrate Catholic places of worship. The memo obtained by Jordan and Representative Mike Johnson last month showed that the FBI planned to use local religious organizations as new avenues for rooting out white supremacists. So let's find out more about Republicans' ongoing investigations into the FBI and the Department of Justice. Joining me is Mike Davis, founder and president of Article 3 Project. So, Mike, I want to talk about the Republicans putting the subpoena power to work. Now, we recently have seen Chairman Jim Jordan subpoenaing the FBI. We saw that yesterday. And then you have Congressman Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, subpoenaing the Bank of America to get access to documents related to Hunter Biden's business dealings. Obviously, this is something the GOP campaigned on. What do you make of all of this?
This is very important oversight by House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan and House Oversight Chairman James Comer. They have a constitutional duty to make sure that our justice system has not been politicized and weaponized against Biden's political enemies, which it's clearly been done. And they also need to make sure that the justice system is not set up to protect Biden, his son Hunter, and his brother James with their clearly illegal, corrupt business dealings with the CCP and Ukrainian oligarchs.
They say this is the responsibility of Congress in their oversight capacity to conduct these kind of investigations. But from the other side of the coin, we have Democrats who are using this as an opportunity to cast Republicans in a negative light, maybe saying that they're conspiracy theorists or anti-government. Do you think this poses any type of threat to them come 2024?
Not at all. It's Congress's job under our Constitution to perform oversight over the executive branch and to make sure that the President of the United States is not compromised by corrupt foreign dealings. And we have both of those problems right now, where the Biden Justice Department has been politicized and weaponized to go after President Trump, Trump's top aides, Trump supporters, even Catholics praying in Catholic churches, while at the same time the Biden Justice Department is protecting President Biden, his son Hunter, his brother James, abortion industry activist, paid activists terrorizing Catholic churches, crisis pregnancy centers, and even Supreme Court justices and their families in their homes that led to a 1 a.m. assassination attempt. We have the Bidens taking money illegally from Chinese and Ukrainian oligarchs. So these are very appropriate investigations by Jordan and Comer. In fact, it's their duty to investigate.
Now, with regards to this, you're mentioning the FBI allegedly targeting Catholics. This is exactly what they subpoenaed the FBI director over. Now, I want to point out that these are FBI whistleblowers that are bringing this kind of stuff to light. So keeping that in mind, do you think Congress will have a solid shot at actually exposing what's going on here for the American people to see clearly and possibly, stay on their side, or at least agree with them if they weren't agreeing with them before?
Well, I will say this, that both Attorney General Merrick Garland and FBI Director Chris Wray should resign after this. If they either knew that the FBI was illegally spying on Catholic churches, or if they didn't know, they aren't doing their jobs. And so either one, whether it's their maliciousness or their incompetence, neither one of them is a good look, and both of them should resign, because the FBI, when you have the FBI spying on Catholic churches based upon bogus intelligence cooked up by the Southern Poverty Law Center, a left-wing radical group trying to target Catholics in churches, that is a bridge too far. That is crossing the Rubicon. That is unacceptable, and there needs to be serious pushback by Congress.
Thank you, Mike, founder and president of Article 3 Project.